great pleasure to welcome you to the Birkbeck Public Engagement Awards. Of course, this year my welcome is somewhat different to previous years because it's a virtual one in view of the circumstances that we know, unfortunately, only too well. However, in fact, these Public Engagement Awards are of even greater importance because of the circumstances in which we find ourselves. Let me explain. During the Brexit period, I think we found that many members of the public were distrustful of what experts were telling them and wanted to go their own way. Now, with the present emergency, we are seeing a complete reversal of that. People are desperate to know what experts think, desperate to find out what their views are about how to preserve health, about the development of the economy, about education of children, and so on. And that is why it is so important that the results of research are made available to the public in a manner which is fully understandable and from which they can draw the appropriate conclusions. And of course, that is what public engagement is all about. It's something that Birkbeck is very committed to, and I'd like to congratulate all those who have entered this public engagement competition and have shown how they value that and how they wish to communicate their very important research to the public.
To me, public engagement is a chance for a mutual and meaningful interaction between scientists and the general public. It's an opportunity for scientists to give back.
It provides an opportunity first to demystify science by creating platforms for the public to engage in scientific research and discussion with scientists.
Public engagement, to me, is a constructive dialogue between academic research and public policy and societal discourse.
For me, it has roots in social engagement and social engaged practices.
Public engagement is about going beyond and extending academic research in order to develop collaborations with people, communities and organisations.
And for us, it's not just a case of communicating about our research in a way that the public can relate to, but also involving them in the knowledge creation process.
Public engagement is a chance to promote scientific literacy, a crucial ingredient for informed social discourse.
Public engagement with research is beneficial for everyone involved: research leaders, students, our universities, collaborative partners, and public in our society.
It's also an opportunity to widen the horizons of my students and my early career collaborators, and propagate the message that science is for girls and women, and it's a fun and exciting career.
Very simply, it's about about working with other people.
In this Joy Hope project, our aim was to bridge the gap between fundamental laboratory research on tackling antibiotic resistance and the public health research on tuberculosis. We used simple educational tool to combine science with art and music. To us, public engagement is always a two-way process with the goal of developing a mutual benefit between public and our researchers.
Our project is called Layers of London. Its aim in a nutshell is to engage thousands of people across London and beyond with the history and heritage of the city, from prehistoric times right through to the present day, and also thinking about the future of London. With a project such as this, public engagement is about the digital, how the web has transformed our lives in the past 20 years and will of course continue to do so. The relationship between face-to-face and digital engagement has been right at the heart of our project, and in many ways one of the most exciting aspects of it. Clearly right now in the context of coronavirus, we're thinking very hard about this. We want to make the most of our existing digital engagement methods, but at the same time, for example through webinars and other online events, make sure that those direct interactions with people can continue, because ultimately they are so vital to public engagement.
The Me Human project focuses on informing the public of our place in the natural world. And because humans are such special animals with unique cognitive capabilities, it's easy to forget that we share an evolutionary history with other animal species. Therefore, our website and all of our project activities are adorned with our vertebrate tree of life characters to continually remind us of a shared evolutionary history with other animals. Both the Psyched and the Live Science projects were large collaborations, with efforts that sought to entice the public to consider how the brain works and how evolution and development affect the way you think, feel, and behave. Live Science was in residence for 3 months at the London Science Museum as both a research study and a public engagement activity. There are a huge amount of different tasks that people can get involved with, from looking at how we use our hands differently for like tool using tasks, to how we hold different kinds of objects like babies or dolls, to how we process faces, so we can look at the way your eyes move to track faces, and also what's my brain doing while I'm looking at those faces. Psyched shows were live, interactive science events for adults about how our ancient brains cope in the modern world. These science salon-style events were evenings that featured cutting-edge science, experimentation, and practical advice.
When Julie gave me the opportunity to contribute to the Psych Talks, I grabbed it with enthusiasm, and it's been really gratifying to lecture, to talk, not really lectures, just to chat to informed and motivated audiences who are interested in these developments in psychology and neuroscience.
The work that I've been doing with Jenny Richards since 2013, called Manual Labours, really sort of is all about public engagement, I suppose, and it wouldn't happen without it. So we've been looking into physical and emotional relationships to work, very broad subject, I suppose, but really it involves talking to other people about their working lives. We worked on a health assessment of the organisation, so we took the building as a body, as a metaphor of a body, and we collectively assessed it. So we tried to figure out and diagnose the issues and the problems with the building.
My project is an hour-long interactive lecture that covers theoretical and practical aspects of attention in everyday life. Attention is ever present in our life, from reading and writing to walking down the street. You're using your attention right now. Usually though, we only notice our attention when it fails. This is why I focused my project on the various limitations of attention. My message is that while we expect our attention to be perfect, the reality is that it's not. The lecture concludes with a positive message, that we shouldn't be harsh on ourselves, as these limitations of attention are universal and part of what makes us human.
Anti-Semitism features in political debate in Britain like never before. It's a subject that is explosive and controversial, but one that is often poorly understood. And so with colleagues David Feldman and Ben Gidley, we produced at Birkbeck a short course to explore the sources, manifestations and contemporary forms of anti-Semitism. And one of the most important features of the course is that we identify anti-Semitism as a form of racism. This allows us to identify not just the specificities of anti-Semitism, but also its connections to other forms of racialization and racism.
Alongside my colleague and friend Dr. Keith Phillips from the Royal Northern College of Music in Manchester, in 2018 we organized a series of 4 interdisciplinary workshops, bringing together 50 experts from various fields, classical musicians as well as health professionals, who brainstormed ideas on the ideal content for health education in higher education music institutions in the UK. This initiative was informed not only by our own background as professional musicians, but also by the current lack of official guidelines for health education among young professional classical musicians.
In February 2019, the Competition and Markets Authority, or CMA, the primary competition body in the UK, published a working paper on the impact of hospital competition on rates of patient harm in the English NHS. That CMA paper found, quote, empirical evidence that competition ultimately benefits patients, end of quote. Our project team, under the lead of the Health Foundation, a UK health charity, examined the analysis in that paper. We found that this conclusion cannot be substantiated from the CMA's analysis. The critique was positively received by healthcare providers and policymakers. creating a channel for ongoing dialogue between academics and policymakers.
Well, because our project is a digital project, I'm almost bound to say that the future of public engagement is a digital one.
The future of public engagement will hinge on the creation of new jobs for media-fluent individuals who can create accessible content and share it online.
At a time when public discourse is often abbreviated to short Twitter-length soundbites and disassociated from factual evidence, public engagement of academic researchers ought to be a way to recalibrate public debate by infusing it with intellectually rigorous analysis instead of casual and superficial soundbites.
We hope that innovation in science is trustworthy and valued by people.
In my mind, our job as scientists require us to learn how to communicate clearly and effectively, but at the same time to be humble and truthful.
Connected to the future of public engagement is also, for me, that question of the role of the university. And during the strike action earlier this year, I was involved in conversations with other people who were interested in and done a lot of work already in exploring the possibilities of cooperative university. So what a cooperative structure, democratic structure of a university might be.
Locked down as we all are right now, it's clear for all of us that public engagement depends on human interaction, and that situations like the current one make that more difficult, despite the array of tools that we now have. And I think that many projects will in the future utilise this sort of blended approach, making the most of our newfound familiarity with online conferencing and other ways of communicating remotely, as well as the enduring importance of face-to-face events.